How do you actually make a woman crave you again without ever having to sit down and talk about and yap about the relationship? So how do you stop that sort of slow death spiral where she stops reaching for your hand, right? She texts you less, she spends more time on her phone, checking her notifications and messages than actually looking at you, and she becomes slowly more distant and cold. So in this video, I'm going to share with you how you've been lied to by society about what keeps a woman genuinely interested and attracted long term. And guess what? I'm going to give you 5 secrets that no one has told you yet, and I'm going to use my unique Hercules color system on what you must start doing immediately to make her want to rip your pants off 24/7 again. I'm an ex-nice guy. I used to be macho as well. I've coached over 200 men, and I've dated several hundreds of women from all over the world, man. And I've been in a few long-term relationships so far. And guess what? All these amazing experiences have sort of given me unique insights into what women truly desire to stay attracted long-term. Yeah. Before I give you the 5 secrets that I mentioned earlier, I want you to understand one thing. Because if you do not understand this one thing, like nothing that I will teach in this video will matter or will make sense to you. So first of all, you need to upgrade what I call your operating system, man. Yeah. So as a human being, we run on a, like, let's call it a set of codes, right? That has been sort of programmed into our fucking brain through our childhood, social media, yada, 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 right? And the biggest mistake that I see in that operating system in men is that they run on this sort of like buggy code in terms of women. And because of this buggy code they run on, the operating system is giving you or giving men the wrong instructions on how to understand women and how to operate around women. The most common bug that I see in men that I coach is what I call the Hollywood romance bug. This bug makes you believe that women only want like love, safety, like fancy trips to expensive restaurants or spa holidays, and this is it. And you believe that love is the single variable that determines whether or not a woman is going to stay attracted to you. Because fundamentally, that's what every woman says she wants, right? Then isn't it interesting that statistically almost 80% of breakups are initiated by women, like who leave long-term relationships because they've fallen out of love? So clearly love isn't the variable that will make her stay with you until the end of the day. Why? Because love is one variable of the relationship. And if the other variable isn't met, which is attraction, she's going to leave. And you know what's even more interesting about love and attraction? Both are emotional systems, actually. They rely on emotional systems. So if you only focus on love, that will make her feel bored and trapped real quick. And obviously the 5 secrets that I'll teach you in just a second, man, they will trigger all like 2 emotional systems that I just mentioned, love and attraction, in sort of such a way that she will never get enough of you. Because if you build enough attraction, actually love will also never fade away. And that's the beauty of focusing on those 2 emotional systems. So if you do not change your operating system from this lovey-dovey Hollywood stuff and unlearn to listen to what women say and actually instead pay attention to what they respond well to, well, man, you will always lose her interest and her attraction, and she will leave you, man. Also, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with wanting to treat a woman in the right way, right? Like to treat her in a loving way, in a lovey-dovey way. But if your entire approach depends on impressing or like pleasing her with love, you've already fucking lost. You're fucked. Because the way you treat attraction right now and the way most men treat attraction is like a checklist, right? Like, oh, I do this and in return I get a reward, which is a cookie, aka sex, right? And affection. But you got to understand that attraction isn't sort of a reward, but rather like a reaction to the man that you are. So how do you make her want to be with you? How do you keep attraction up? By providing her with an entire spectrum of emotions. Because remember, we need to target the emotional systems for love and attraction to be triggered. And I call this emotional spectrum a safe thrill. You might be wondering, okay, what is actually a safe thrill? What do you mean by that, Gene? Well, think of it on going like on a roller coaster ride, right? Like on a roller coaster ride, you scream, you laugh, and you definitely question your choice, right, on going on there. But you love it. And why do you love it? Because you experience this entire spectrum of emotions, right? Which gets you addicted to that experience. But you only get addicted to this entire experience because this entire thrill, those ups and downs, right? Those thrills of emotions, they are experienced in like a safe container, right? Like if that ride wouldn't be safe, you wouldn't like hop on it. It would be mad. When you replicate that kind of environment, like the same experience with women, like safe but also emotionally addictive, then man, like she will be all over you. She will bring peace into your life. She will be feminine. She will surrender into her feminine energy in her relationship or in a relationship with you. And how do you unlock all of this genuine desire? Well, by implementing the 5 secrets that I'm about to teach you now. Let's start with secret number 1. So secret number 1 is what most men struggle to do when they develop like feelings for a woman. And it always leads to a breakup. So I'm coaching this client right now. Let's call him Rick. And he's like usually super assertive, right? Like, and a super confident guy at work. But when he finds a woman attractive or he falls in love with her, man, like my man turns into a shadow of himself. Like he loses all his Hercules energy. Like he unconsciously switches into what I call purple masculine energy, right? And he makes that purple masculine energy his default operating system. You might be wondering, okay, so what the fuck does like purple masculine energy actually stands for? Well, it stands for caring, empathetic kind of energy and being compassionate. The issue, however, is like when you are like too much in this empathetic side, well, that makes you always want to talk things through, right? Like you're very much concerned with a woman's mood. But over time, you become hypervigilant, right? And you start overthinking things like, oh, you like really get in your head and you tend to, let's say, dramatize and catastrophize. And that looks like, oh, she hasn't texted me lately. Maybe there's something wrong. Maybe she's about to leave me. Maybe she doesn't love me anymore. Maybe she doesn't find me attractive anymore, right? And then you go through all the specific scenarios and then you say, well, maybe I should text her and see if she's okay. Or when she's in a bad mood, and this I see so often with my clients, you immediately view yourself as the source of her bad mood, and naturally, because you've been so empathetic, you feel guilty. And then you become concerned about her, and then you immediately think like, oh, maybe I did something wrong, right? And then what most guys do, they just like say, hey, I'm sorry for like you feeling bad when she's upset, right? And then they want to immediately fix the mood, right? Because they feel responsible for it. That's how a woman feels about that. Totally turned off. Why? Because she feels like she's being watched like 24/7. Like when your mood or your like entire emotional state anchors itself to hers, right? You create like so much emotional pressure on her and so much emotional pressure on her nervous system. And that makes her feel like she's not allowed to have a bad day anymore. She is not allowed to be stressed. She's not allowed to be quiet. She's not allowed to be distracted without you like chasing her and checking in on her. And why is that bad? Because it suffocates her, man. It's like almost you choke her out of her fucking privacy. And then she stops feeling like a lover around you and starts feeling like a bit like your therapist, your mother, your emotional babysitter, because she suddenly has to sort of contain her own emotions or you'll be on her fucking ass again, which means she has to suppress her authentic self. And when you deny a woman to feel like authentically around you, like that turns her off fast because you fundamentally prevent her from, again, being herself around you, and she cannot relax around you. And in that very moment, man, you convey that you're an incompetent man, and that displays low status behavior. And I mean, like it or not, but women do not stay attracted to men who continuously displays this low status behavior. Because, like, let's face it, women are only ever attracted to guys they can look up to. And that's why secret number 1 is so simple to fix and implement. Like, you gotta stop reacting to her moods. Stop linking your entire emotional state to like hers. You gotta stay sort of the captain of the ship, right? Who's unfazed. He's emotionally grounded by the, like when the waves hit the fucking ship, and the waves obviously representing her moods, right? Like you have to steer the ship through the fucking storm, no matter like how you feel about it. You have to remain nonchalant about it. By the way, I'm not saying that you should suppress your emotions. I'm saying that you should be so regulated that you can stay like in charge of your emotions. So how do you become emotionally grounded? How do you stay emotionally like non-reactive or nonchalant? So first of all, it doesn't mean that you should become a fucking robot. Like a couple of years ago, I thought that you should become a robot, right? So with my ex Marie, and this is one of the reasons why she isn't my ex, by the way. Like Marie was gorgeous, blonde, you know, fit investment banker. And was also very like feminine around me, right? But I was in this phase of like, I'm gonna stay strong. I'm not gonna show emotions because I have to be emotionally grounded, right? So great intention, really poor execution. I never opened up to her. I didn't show any vulnerability, and I tried to look like nothing would affect me, right? Because that was my understanding of being nonchalant. But guess what happened? That totally killed attraction too. Because when I shut down my emotions, I removed like one of the core ingredients of a healthy relationship, emotional connection. And when there's no emotional connection, I mean, there's no glue that keeps the relationship alive and together, right? Because when a woman can't feel your emotions, or she can't feel you, like then it feels to her that you're like hiding behind a mask and that you are not authentic around her. And then she can't trust you. And if she can't trust you, I mean, what's the fucking point of being with you? So how do you regulate your emotions? How do you become nonchalant, like, and be vulnerable without looking weak, right? Without like overdoing it and finding the right balance? Well, the best way to go about this is to use the following mental model that I usually teach in my Hercules mentorship. Yeah? And my clients love this. Like, it instantly connects to them and it instantly makes them like nonchalant. So I want you to view yourself as the chief executive officer of your emotions, and your emotions are fundamentally your team. So every time you feel an emotion, it is your team giving you feedback. And your responsibility as a great leader, as a great CEO, aka Hercules, is to like audit the feedback and take action on that feedback. So what is the best and most optimal approach to like audit that feedback that you get from your team, aka your emotions? Well, you grab a notebook and you ask yourself the following questions that I've carefully sort of put together, and I usually teach my clients, and they get insane results from that. So the first question is, what exactly triggered me today? Let's say she didn't text you back immediately, right? And then you ask yourself, okay, what story did I tell myself because of that, right? Oh, she doesn't love me anymore. I'm not enough. She's losing interest. And then, and this is super important, you challenge that belief. Why do I believe this story to be true? Like, what evidence do I have for this? Now, obviously repetition matters here, but once you like repeat these questions every time you get triggered, right? That creates sort of like a circuit breaker in your brain. And it starts reprogramming you to think more rationally about the situation. And once you do once you answer those questions, and over time that will become intuitive, like the next question is super, super powerful. And it's like honestly my favorite. What would Hercules have done in the same moment? So this entire sequence of questions is based on neuroscience, and it fundamentally helps you to finally stop anchoring yourself to her and fundamentally also start living with more intent. And when you aren't ruled by her emotions anymore, she will start to relax around you, and she will tap into her feminine energy again, which is sexy as hell. So the second secret is honestly a massive game changer for like every guy I coach, because it's a skill they fundamentally never really mastered, right? So actually the next few secrets will all evolve around that specific kind of masculine energy, masculine skill. And the reason why I want to do deep dive into those is because, yeah, it's so like effective and overlooked in long-term attraction. Like honestly, 95% of guys never ever develop this skill. So that skill is to build sexual tension consistently in everyday situations, man. And you do that by unblocking what I call your orange masculine energy. And that is your charismatic side of yours. And that fundamentally requires you, or like develops the ability to drop your like overly logical side and become a bit more cheeky, playful, and charismatic around her. Think of it as like Ryan Reynolds energy. Now, obviously, how do you integrate your Ryan Reynolds energy and make conversations more playful? Now, it's super simple once you have the right system. So when my clients join my program, they often share sort of the same problem, right? Over time, they struggle to remain playful in their relationships, right? Because they're just a bit too analytical, a bit too boring, right? And those conversations they're having with their partner, their girlfriend, or the girl they've been seeing for a couple of months, or even their wife, they turn into this boring exchange of messages, right? Like either they go like this, like, how's your day, babe? Oh, good and yours. What did you do? Oh, I did this and I did that. And could you grab milk from the fucking supermarket? Nothing wrong about like talking logistics and stuff, right? But there are so many missed opportunities to create more sexual desire in the women that you're with, right? Like generally, this isn't even about like specific technique or framework or something like that, right? But it's more so about like stopping to be so heavy in your relationships, right? Like be more fun, be less serious, and be more energetic, have more drive, and like treat your relationships a bit more like a playground and a bit more like an adventure rather than a fucking library. Obviously, I'm going to teach you how to do this. I'm going to use specific examples with Sandra, talking about like mundane things and show you how I sexualize them. Yeah? So Sandra sent me this typical good morning message, right? Morning, Hercules. How's my Hercules feeling, right? And then she sent me like, oh, the winter has arrived, like with a picture of snow, to which I could have just said, oh, good morning, I slept well, and you, oh, wow, snow is amazing. Or I could be fucking less boring, and I could be playful and say things like, oh, make it snow angels soon, Sandra. Winky, winky. Or throughout the day, like I went to food market, for example, and I sent a video of that food market to Sandra because I know she fucking loves food, like every woman, basically, right? like typical foodie, you know. And anyway, so she responds with, "Oh, this is Bambi's paradise, right?" Now, how would you respond if you aren't as goated as I am? You'd probably text something like, "Oh yeah, some boring ass shit." I don't even know what a boring response would be here, but the way I respond is way more teasing and playful. So I responded with, "Oh, my card's nightmare," right? Because it's a playful tease at how stingy she usually is when she uses her own card. Like when she uses my cards, like money printer, right? So that creates excitement, that creates tension, like all these feelings and emotions that make her like emotionally like even more addicted to me, right? Because that creates the safe thrill, the emotional roller coaster ride. She's a bit upset and annoyed maybe that I call her out on like using my card as the quantitative easing money printing machine. She's annoyed and upset in a good way. So now the next secret that most men never really learn is like fundamentally to create like constant mental orgasms in women through charisma and yeah, again, the orange energy. I said we're going to focus on this today. So the big mistake that I used to make when I was in like my mid-20s or so was to think that when I give a compliment to a woman that this is charismatic, right? That compliments are what wins a woman over, and that they create this mental orgasm in her, right? So I honestly heavily relied on calling women like beautiful, or hey beauty, how did you sleep, beauty? And I complimented them on their looks, their appearances, or like physical beauty mostly or whatnot, right? But the problem you'll run into in this is that there's only so many fucking times that you can tell her or someone that you find her looks amazing, her eyes amazing, right? Because that novelty wears off very quickly, and worse, it actually does not target a feeling like responsible for attraction. Like compliments trigger appreciation, but what you actually want is to trigger desire. And how do you create desire? How do you trigger desire? But by becoming Hercules, obviously, and learn how to flirt in long-term relationships. Like flirting is genuinely like the only way that you create the feeling of being desired in her, right? And worse, actually, when you only compliment a woman, you violate one of the most important primary desires in women, that is mystery. And by mystery, I'm not saying that you should play games, but mystery actually means, and the Red Pill has completely butchered this, like mystery means that like a woman loves when you leave things up to her imagination. Like again, I don't mean that you should be playing games, but you should be rather subtle about how you express like your desire for her. And fundamentally, you do this by like, you leave a few strategic blanks, right? In how you express things for her to fill in. So that allows her to create her own like sort of movie in her head. Because women love fantasy. Like the kind of novels women read are wild, man. But when you give her like a straight compliment, an explicit compliment like, hey, you look amazing today, there is no imagination anymore. There is no blank anymore. It doesn't trigger any like sort of fantasy. And what I've observed actually in my clients, like who are highly intelligent guys and highly analytic guys, is they struggle to create these kind of blanks because they're so used to be explicit and straight to the point, right? Like they want to get to the point in the most efficient way. And while flirting is extremely efficient to create attraction, it is not explicit. Like I've got one client, he's the head of engineering, and he was actually part of the development of one of the stadiums in Qatar, right? Like, so, I mean, very analytical. So by nature of his job, he's very, very detailed, right? There's no way they can be like vague or ambiguous in his messaging, because I mean, fucking stadium would collapse if he would be too vague, right? Now, this becomes a problem when he interacts with his wife, because like the man is so detailed, because yeah, I mean, like that's his job, that's his nature, but it sort of led to the destruction of the marriage, because at some point she said like, I didn't feel you anymore, I don't feel you anymore. And that's because he was too explicit, he was too detail oriented, and he didn't like leave any space for imagination or any fantasies anymore. And we're currently working on re-attracting his wife, and it's actually, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, she said that she's actually like leaning more towards like rekindling the marriage again. Now the question obviously is, how are we doing this? So first of all, we broke down like, okay, what are the things that he's texting or saying that he should stop immediately? So he's the kind of guy who's literally like telling his wife every single day, you're so beautiful today, or I've never met an amazing woman like you. And that is just straight compliment, generic, boring over time. Of course, you can tell her that she's beautiful, once in a while, not every fucking day. So instead of saying, oh, you're so beautiful today, you could say, you know what, those jeans or those dress or whatever she's wearing, look, it doesn't look too bad on you. That actually creates a bit of a surprise in her, like in the sense like, oh, usually they don't, like, what do you mean? Again, playful and light. Or last time, Sandra wanted to show me her new outfit, right, when she entered the living room, right, and I said like, oh wow, I don't know who you are, but like, you're sexy. See how that says the same thing, but it is so much more fun, it is so much more charming, because it creates this energy in her, in which she responded like, what? And she's obviously, she said, oh, stop it, leave it, you know, because it's absurd. But because when you like create this kind of absurd statement, like the way I just did, you convey extreme social intelligence and creativity, which is arguably way more difficult than just saying you're beautiful. Because of that, you look way more attractive, because we display high social status behavior, aka masculine competence. And all of that now leads me to the next secret, which a ton of guys will struggle with initially, especially when she's like not receptive to your flirts in the beginning. A lot of my clients, they take it personal when she doesn't respond like positive to your flirt, and it's because they were looking for approval, right? So I had a client of mine just last week. He sent a few text messages to his wife, right? And she was a bit, like, actually he was down because she didn't reciprocate his efforts, right? When he was trying to be more fun. Well, why? Because she was not used to that new way of communication, basically, and this new identity of his. Because he's never shown his orange, playful masculine energy. So naturally, she was a bit more suspicious, and she started testing him because, yeah, she wanted to see if this is for real. Now, the mistake that he was making was like fundamentally saying like, he sent her a message like, oh, you don't like it when I do this? And I mean, that was straight gay, to be honest. So I told him, man, like, you gotta stop anchoring, again, yourself to your wife's approval. Like, your wife's reaction shouldn't determine whether or not you want to do something. Like, you need to be playful because you are generally playful, not because you want her approval. You need to flirt because that's who you are, not because she might like it or not. Like sometimes when I flirt with Sandra, like a few weeks back or so, like she asked me to dig deeper into an issue on the back office in my mentorship, right? And I said, yeah, I'll dig deeper, but don't get any naughty thoughts, right? Like, she just rolled her eyes because she wasn't in the mood for a flirt, because she had just spent 6 hours on working on that said back office, and then I fucked something up. Obviously, I'm not gifted with tech, right? But for me, her response is totally okay, because if she's not receptive to it immediately, I either have to warm her up more, or if I'm not in the really like in the mood myself or feel a bit lazy, I just continue with my day, man. Like no one's gonna die, you know, if she doesn't like respond positively or respond in the way that I want her to respond. Because the most important thing is like, if a woman can like sense that she can rattle the cage, like, or like your emotions basically, she will start testing your masculine like confidence again, aka how secure you feel in yourself. Coming back to the first secret, right? Emotional anchoring, emotional nonchalantness. And she doesn't do this because she's evil or so, but because it's literally wired into her nervous system. It's like a biological sort of bullshit detector. So aside from the emotional groundedness, what else can you convey to her so that she like trusts your masculine leadership? I call this mastering your masculine frame. Like, think of frame as sort of the mental model that you have about yourself, right? Like, how secure do you feel about yourself, and how much do you respect yourself? So for example, a few weeks back, Sandra asked me to pass the salt, right? Like where we were having food. And guess what I said? I just said, yeah, if you say please. Because she just said, pass me the salt, Gene, if you say please. Why is this so powerful? Because it interrupts the pattern for taking me for granted, right? And that she's not being able to boss me around. A lot of my clients, they have become totally emasculated over time because they never paid attention to those small micro tests, those small things, right? The ways that a woman like treats you. And if you let these micro tests slide, if you let those small things slide, right? Like her talking over you, her like ranting, like rarely sending you like good morning messages, or you accepting just like bare like small breadcrumbs. I mean, like, what kind of like image are you conveying? Like, remember, you're the fucking CEO of the relationship, and you have to be treated as such, right? Not the fucking customer service representative Kevin, right? Being bossed around. Another way to stop more into your masculine frame is to stop asking for permission, man, and start leading honestly. What do you want to do? Where should we go? Are you in the mood? I mean, that's total Kevin energy, and hands over literally the role of the CEO to her. But if you want a feminine soft woman that desires you 24 fucking 7 and never loses interest in you, man, like this is the worst that you can do. Being a Kevin, right? Being the Kevin that pushes her into that masculine leadership role, the CEO role that she does not want to be in. I've dated investment bankers, management consultants. Sandra worked in finance as well, right? When we met, all these girls were boss babes. They were in their masculine energy, but the moment they were with me, man, I flicked the switch in them, right? And they became super feminine because I took the lead. I was nonchalant, I created sexual tension, but I was very much, and I am very secure myself. Now, with that being said, that leads me to secret number 5, and that is literally the sauce, bro, the secret sauce. It's going to be a bit more technical, right? But it can truly have like a 10x on your investment, right? Return on investment. You literally can flick the switch in your relationship. And it gets to a point where she is just like 24/7 emotionally obsessed with you. Like, because of what I'm about to share with you, it's one of the reasons why Sandra initiates sex rather than me having to do it, right? The technique is called disqualifying sex. So normal dynamic is that men have to chase women for sex, right? But when you are Hercules, right, the guy that is outcome independent and you hold the frame, you know, that fundamentally that conveys that sex with you is a gift rather than sex with her being the gift. And that is, for a lot of women, a bit of a mindfuck. Why? Because she's not used to it. Because 99% of men chase sex. If you can convey that you're not a thirsty dog, that sex isn't as important to you as for the other 99% of men, game changer. It puts you in a completely different sphere. And the beauty here is it creates a lot of sexual tension in her because now she has to work for it rather than you having to chase it. And why is this so powerful? Because it triggers her primal fantasy of wanting to have sex with a powerful man. Like, being able to disqualify sex is the ultimate way to rebalance sort of the power dynamics and the attraction dynamics in a relationship. Right? It's a theory. How do you apply this in a day-to-day interaction? I personally use a lot of normal day-to-day conversations to sexualize the conversations with Sandra, but I blame it on her for wanting me too much. I'm the victim. So for instance, like, instead of the typical responses to her, like good morning messages with, oh, good morning, I'd say something like, oh, sorry, you dreamed a bit too much of me, right? Or last week she asked me if we should go play paddle, and I said, oh, you just want to see me sweat, right? Or she sent me like a meme with hugs, and I replied, well, we both know it's more than just hugs that you want. All this is instantly, without saying anything about sex, I say a lot about sex. And when you do all these things, it will create a crazy long-term attraction. And in the relationships, you make sure that you never make the mistakes that I talk about in this video here in your relationship.